Yeah, yo, what's poppin'? All right, so now we just finished chapter 13. We're now on chapter 14. Of course, you know that. You read it in the title. Um, so it ended off last with Jesus talking about how a prophet without honor, and how he was like a prophet is not without honor except in his own hometown and whatnot. Um, and now to start off, I mean, this is where the story's about to start getting real crazy. To start off with chapter 14, it starts off with John the Baptist beheaded, right? And John the Baptist is Jesus' cousin. So, yeah, it's about to get real. Let's get into it. So it says, at the time, Herod the Tetrarch heard the reports about Jesus, and he said to his attendants, "This is John the Baptist. He has risen from the dead." Right? So he was already on some craziness. That is why miraculous powers are at work in him. So he's assuming that Jesus was was John the Baptist like back to life. It says, now Herod had arrested John and bound him and put him in prison because of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife. For John had been saying to him, "It is not lawful for you to have her." So he was telling her straight up, like, "Look, bro, you shouldn't be sleeping with that chick. That ain't yours." Herod wanted to, so because of that, Herod wanted to kill John, but he was afraid of the people because they considered John a prophet. On Herod's birthday, the daughter of Herodias danced for the guests and pleased Herod so much that that he promised with with an oath to give her whatever she asked. So long story short, Shorty started dancing at the party, and King Herod was kind of just like, "Man, Shorty, like, I get anything you want. I I just want you, you know." So that just kind of gives you a frame of mind, you know what I'm saying? What we were dealing with here, like Herod was on some creep junk. He was looking to, you know what I'm saying? So he said, "I'll give you whatever you ask." So prompted by her mother, she said, "Give me here on a platter the head of John the Baptist." And this is why I say it's great that we have Instagram and we got all these different things now that help keep people occupied, because people were so bored back in this time. Like in order to get like a thrill, they had to like chop someone's head off. She said, "Bring it to me on a platter." Like, man, it's not that serious. You ain't gotta do all that. Um, so Herod so much, or yeah, prime mother, give me her on a platter the head of John the Baptist. The king was distressed, but because of his oaths and his dinner guest, he ordered that her request be granted, and had John beheaded in the prison. His head was brought in on a platter and given to the girl, who carried it to her mother. John's disciples came and took his body and buried it. Then they went and told Jesus. Dang, so it sounded like Herod didn't even really want to get homie's head chopped off, but he was kind of just like, "Oh, I did say that, huh? Yeah, run it. Run the orders." You know what I mean? Like, that whole situation is just tragic. And it's like, I just can't imagine that. Like, holding someone's head on a plate. Says the daughter literally just walked it over to her mom. Bro, I would have dropped that plate. I would have jumped someone's head. But those are the times they were in. And then after they buried his body without a head, they went and told Jesus about what happened to his cousin. Dang, crazy. Then right after that, we get word that Jesus feeds the 5,000. So let's see what happens here. So it says, when Jesus heard what had happened, he withdrew by boat privately to a solitary place. Hearing of this, the crowds followed him on foot from the towns. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them and healed their sick. So he's already dealing with a lot, but I mean, I guess this gives us an insight into how Jesus handles. I guess this is showing us his example. It seems he mourned only for a short time, and then after that, realized that there were people who needed his help, and he got to healing them and switched his focus. As evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, This is a remote place and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food. Jesus replied, they do not need to go away. You get them something to eat. That junk cold. Oh, man, that is so cold. So then they said, we have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. That's what they answered. Bring them here to me, he said. And he directed the people to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. The number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Because at this time, they only counted men, right? So that's why it says Jesus feeds the 5,000. They count the number of heads of how many men were in the crowd. So it was 5,000 men accompanied by women and children. And with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, Jesus ends up feeding the whole, basically, army of people. And then it even says they all ate and were satisfied. So they didn't just get a bite and say, oh, we good, Jesus. They all ate and were satisfied. And the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. I want to say at this point, I want to make the point to state that in life, oftentimes we only have 5 loaves and 2 fish, and we sit there and we say, like, how are we going to pay our bills? Or how are we going to do this? Or how are we going to, you know what I'm saying, turn this into something that can really thrive? And Jesus actually gives a warning. I hate whenever I spoil some of the story, but Jesus actually gives a warning to his disciples, and he says, be careful of the bread that, you know what I'm saying, basically the world gives. And by doing that, the disciples were confused, like, what? Like, what's this man talking about? But again, it was a parable of him stating that, like, because then he checks them, and he's like, do y'all not get what I'm saying? Like, how many basketfuls did you pick up after we fed, you know what I'm saying, the multitude of people? And they say, you know, we picked up like 12 baskets full. And he does that to show, like, when you trust in him, even when it looks like you don't have enough, you will eat and be satisfied and then have much left over. But that's only when you depend on him. When you look at him and you say, thank you for the 5 loaves. You know, so I could talk about that for forever, but I sad to say, if you're not the type of person who has put, you know what I'm saying, your faith and your belief in Jesus, he has a lot to offer. I'm not going to sit here and tell you have to, you know, this is earth. You choose whatever you want to do. Get it how you live. But I'm just saying, for me, my life is like an example of what it looks like when you decide to just give him, you know, everything and say, all right, look, I only got 5 loaves, but I'm trusting you with the process. And not only am I satisfied, I feel as if I got baskets overflowing. So, you know, look into it. I'm trying to show it to you here, but like I said, I'm not gonna force nobody to do nothing. I'm not one of them type of dudes. Like, you know, just look into it for yourself and compare and contrast, you know. So the next part, Jesus walks on water. A lot of people know about this story, but we're gonna talk about it. This man was like Superman. It's crazy. So it says, immediately Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side. Right, he's about to head over to the other side of the lake. While he dismissed the crowd, right? After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said as they cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, take courage, it is I, don't be afraid. Imagine that. Hey, yo, don't trip. It's just me out here. Y'all chilling? Lord, if it's you, Peter replied, tell me to come to you on the water. Come on, he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, Lord, save me. Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. And he said, you have little faith. Why do you doubt? And he says this to give us an example as well. In life, sometimes we're going to see something that seems impossible, right? Like walking on water. And we'll ask Jesus, like, look, like if it's, you know what I'm saying, something that you're willing to let me do, like, Let me try and do what's impossible. Let me attempt what's impossible. And, you know, trusting in him, you'll see like, oh, shoot, like, nah, I really can do this. But the moment you start to doubt, that's when you start to sink. And again, Peter, he asked, he's like, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus grabbed him. But then Jesus checked him. Jesus ain't no soft dude out here. He checked him. Yo, why you got a little faith? Come on, bro. And he basically lets him know it's because of your doubt. It's because of your lack of faith is why you're not achieving what seems impossible. Apply that to your life. Like I said, that's if, you know what I'm saying, this Jesus dude is the one who, you know what I'm saying, you put your trust in. But if this is the person who you put your trust in, you have to realize if you feel like you're sinking or if you feel like, you know what I'm saying, things aren't going, it's mostly it's due to your doubt, to your lack of faith. If you show him that you trust him, your baskets will overflow. I'm telling you, but you have to live in faith with that. You have to live in line with that. And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, truly, you are the Son of God. When they had crossed over, they landed at Gennesaret. I'm not from, you know what I'm saying, Israel, Egypt, Jerusalem, Middle East. So I might jack this up. But also, I'll put emphasis on that. Like I say, this isn't a fairy tale book. Like, this is a historical book, and these are all eyewitness testimony. So, you know what I'm saying, Gennesaret or whatever, you know what I'm saying, that's still over there. Like, this is a real place. It's like saying Texas or California or Russia. You know what I'm saying? Like, this stuff is real. So homie really walked on some water over at Gennesaret. So, and when the men of that place recognized Jesus, they sent word to all the surrounding country. People brought all their sick to him and begged him to let the sick just touch the edge of his cloak, and all who touched it were healed. So bang, that's the end of chapter 14. I feel like it was a solid one. I'm hoping, you know what I'm saying, that these words are resonating with you guys. And yo, we still at the beginning of like everything going on. So if you also keep up with everything else that goes on with the channel, you know we've been dropping new music, dropping content every Wednesday, and baby, we just getting started. So yeah, keep at it, keep your head up, keep doing research if you looking to, you know what I'm saying, really do this whole Christian thing. It's not a religion, it's a belief. It's really just believing in this dude who was walking on water and stuff. No one else done it, you know, on earth. So I mean, it must be something special, but like I said, hey, it's your choice. But yeah, love you guys. Peace.